Hello YouTube. Today I want to talk about The Dark Knight Rises, the latest addition to the Nolan Batman franchise, and the last, because as you know it's the conclusion. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make two top 5s in this video. Top 5 worst things about the movie and top 5 best things about the movie. I wasn't very satisfied by the movie. I don't think it's a satisfying conclusion to the trilogy, but I also want to give credit where credit is due. I do think that some things were nice about this movie. I do think that there's more negative aspects than positive ones, but I decided to do the same number of points for each category. So there's a best and a worst, 5 points each. If I had to do a lengthy review of the whole movie, you'd hear much more negative criticism from me. But I didn't want to do that today. I wanted to do this sort of balanced analysis. So, let's go on. So, the 5 worst things about the movie. Number 5 for me is the opening. Now, the opening is very important in the Batman movies and in movies in general, and for Christopher Nolan. I mean, all Christopher Nolan movies have pretty cool openings. I mean, Inception, you know, it has a great opening, and Memento, and The Prestige, you know. The openings really make you want to keep watching. They make you feel the weight of the movie. They make you feel the seriousness of the situation. This opening is weak. It's really weak. It shouldn't be. If you describe it, it doesn't sound weak. But when I went to see the movie in the theater, I was really underwhelmed by it. I mean, my best friend was there, and he almost laughed at it, and we talked about the movie at length, and we agreed that there's so many things which are silly about this scene. So, what happens? Basically, the CIA is taking 3 prisoners who belong to a terrorist organization, and all 3 prisoners have a hood on. We can't see their faces. And as soon as you see these 3 guys, these 3 prisoners, you know that one of them is Bane. I mean, it's supposed to be a twist, a reveal, but it's been done before. I mean, it's the same reveal of The Dark Knight. You know, there's the bank heist scene in The Dark Knight, and that was a great reveal, because nobody was expecting that. You know, usually the Joker does not participate in things like a bank heist, so it was a very effective twist. And the scene where he takes the mask off, I love that scene. Here, I saw it a mile away. I mean, there's 3 prisoners, and one is much bigger than the others, and you know it's Bane, and of course it is. And they're on a plane, they're being taken away in a plane by the CIA, and another plane basically attacks them and sends ninjas to rescue Bane and have the plane fall down, because also on the plane there's a scientist that Bane needs, so he kidnaps him. And there's so many things which are stupid about this scene. I mean, first of all, as I said, it's an obvious twist that it's Bane. We know it's Bane. Also, the CIA is very stupid because they never look under the hood. I mean, what? These people give them political prisoners, and they don't even check to see their faces? So that's really silly. They don't check the handcuffs, and of course Bane breaks his handcuffs like nothings. So that was also a stupid thing to do. And then the other plane, basically, men jump from this other plane with ropes and sort of attach themselves to the CIA plane, attach bombs, and the plane sort of twists. It ends up being vertical, being held by the ropes to the other plane. And that's really stupid because it doesn't look very possible. This plane looks too heavy. But what's really just wrong, you just feel wrong watching, is the fact that the plane stays still. I mean, the motor is not going anymore, and it's being held by the other plane, so there's ropes, and the plane stays level. I mean, I know it's heavy, but the other plane is heavier, and it's going fast, and it never moves. It's as if they were just standing anywhere, but they're up in the sky, and that really felt just so clumsy. The whole scene feels clumsy, and it also feels as if they really wanted to make it clever and complex, but it doesn't work. And it's not like the beginning of The Dark Knight, because that scene was clever because it was pretty simple, actually. It's clever, but it's clever because it's simple. That's when clever scenes work, when it's a simple idea that you realize only at the end. You know, that's how twists work. It's not something so complicated you never would have thought of it. It's something that is simple, but it was hidden until they wanted you to see it. Here it's just all very clumsy, and as I said, the CIA makes really stupid choices, and then there's this weird thing where they have a corpse, and they put some of the scientists' blood in the corpse so that people will think that it's the body of the scientist, and that's really kind of a silly idea. And so that's it. The plane falls, Bane and the scientist get away, and another of the prisoners. One of the prisoners stays in the plane because they need to leave a body to be found from police and CIA, so nobody will think that somebody got away. And yeah, it's a really lackluster opening. I mean, I was really excited when I went to see this movie. You know, I didn't go there saying, this is gonna suck. I went there thinking it was gonna be great, and not like a masterpiece, but a worthy addition. And it already started pretty weak, and I really didn't like this opening. And also, after the opening, we get like half an hour of nothing. Half an hour of Bruce Wayne doing the Howard Hughes thing, long beard, long nails, and limp and all that. And I really did not like that. I mean, I like the fact that he's been a recluse for 8 years. That's fine. That's like The Dark Knight Returns. I like that. But the scenes are boring. They're really boring. It's a real problem with the movie. The pace is terrible. It starts boring, gets more boring, and it's a bad pace. And the opening is not a very good one. Number 4. Now, this is a huge problem with the movie. It maybe should even be up higher on the list in terms of being a serious problem. But I've put it at number 4 because the other things make me more angry. I find them more irritating. But number 4 is the total disrespect that this movie has for the second movie, for The Dark Knight, and for the ending of The Dark Knight. As you know, at the end of The Dark Knight, Batman takes responsibility for Harvey Dent's action. He takes the fall. He didn't kill anyone, but he makes the city believe that he has, so that the city will hate him, and through this hate, the city will stay together. They won't crumble, because if the city knew that Harvey Dent killed people, they would lose the noble knight that Harvey Dent was, the symbol they needed. So Batman becomes the outcast to keep Gotham together, to save Gotham. He endures the hate of a whole city because he loves it. It's a very powerful scene. And it's also great because it's sort of, nobody wins at the end of The Dark Knight, but Batman does not lose. The Joker doesn't win because Batman manages to be smarter and more noble than Joker thought. And it's a wonderful scene. It's a great ending. It gets you pumped up. It touches you. It's a fantastic scene. And in the third movie, they talk about the lie that Batman created to save the city, as if it was something low and dirty and something to be ashamed of. And so when it's revealed that it was a lie and Harvey Dent killed people, Gordon looks ashamed and sort of justifies himself like a wimp, and Batman they never defend this noble choice, but it was a noble choice. And they make it look as if it's something to be ashamed of because it's a lie, but it's a lie that didn't hurt anyone. It's a lie that you really felt came from a noble reason, and it was noble, and it did save the city. And then, of course, some things went bad, like the laws that they did in Harvey Dent's name are a bit too strict, and that's fine. I mean, that's a nice criticism. I'm okay with that. But they never stand their ground, Batman and Gordon. They sort of look down at their feet. I hate that. There's no reason for it. So I really hated that. And also, this is kind of a, this is another little criticism that I have, is that how does the city discover that Harvey Dent was guilty of murder? Because Bane, the man who's keeping the city hostage, Bane tells them, saying that he has a speech written by Gordon that says so. And the speech is real, but why does the city believe him? He's the bad guy. I mean, at that point, he's done nothing to convince people that he's a good guy. He's killed a man in front of the whole city, broke his neck. He destroyed a stadium. I mean, why do people believe him? It's so stupid. I mean, Gothamites are stupid in the Batman world. We know that. They're gullible. But then there's being gullible, and then there's just being incredibly stupid. I mean, I think that people are gullible, and I don't mind them being fooled like they are in The Dark Knight or in other Batman stories. I think probably it would go down like that in some big city. But here it's just, there's no reason to be gullible. I mean, it's not like when a politician makes promises and people want to believe it because it will help them. Bane brings destruction and says, believe me, and they just do. It's stupid. It's incredibly stupid. So that's a really serious problem with the movie, and I just hate how they spit on the ending of The Dark Knight, because it was a great ending. And in my mind, that's how the trilogy ends. The trilogy ends with Batman taking the responsibility and doing the right choice. I think that's a better ending. So that's number 4. That's my problem. Number 3 is Catwoman. And it's very simple here. I don't have to talk much about it. I hate Catwoman in this movie. It's not because of Anne Hathaway. I don't have anything against her. I think she did fine with what she had. I mean, it's the script. The script is bad. This script is bad. I really think that the best movies that Nolan has made are the ones where his brother co-wrote them. So Jonathan Nolan is, I think, essential to Christopher Nolan's work. Inception is a good movie, and Jonathan Nolan didn't write that, but I don't think it's his best. His best movies, I think, are The Dark Knight, Memento, and The Prestige. And Jonathan Nolan co-wrote all of them, and it shows. I think he's the better writer, and he's definitely better than David S. Goya in the third movie. I like David S. Goya. I mean, I think he was fine in Batman Begins, and he co-wrote the story of The Dark Knight. I mean, I don't think he's bad, but The Dark Knight Rises is one of his worst, not counting Blade Trinity. And I don't know, it's a real problem with the story, and Catwoman is just annoying. She's obnoxious. I mean, in the comic books and in the cartoon, Catwoman was confident. She had reasons for doing what she did, and you liked her, and it didn't feel as if she was trying to prove herself to anyone. In this movie, it always feels as if she's trying to look cool, trying to look tough. And she comes off as really annoying for that reason. And she steals a lot of the movie. A lot of the movie is about her. But even though that's the case, we don't get to know her much. And she's always flipping sides for no reason at all. And she's just unlikable. I mean, every scene with her was just painful to me. I mean, some people say that it was nice to have Catwoman in the movie because she's hot and they liked sort of watching her, but I don't find her hot, and it wouldn't be enough anyway. And I just thought she was terrible. I mean, Anne Hathaway did her best, but it's just written badly. And also I hate the sass. I hate how sassy she is, because Catwoman is sassy in the comic books, but here it's much more sort of, I don't know, it really feels as if she wants attention. I really hate that. So Catwoman was for me a huge problem. This is more of a personal opinion. It's not like other things I've mentioned before. I don't think it's a serious objective flaw like the lack of respect for the previous movie, which I think is out of doubt. I mean, you can like this movie and that's fine, but it seems to me pretty obvious that this is not a natural progression from the last movie. They do not respect the original movies in this one. So yes, I have a problem with that, and I have a problem with Catwoman. I found her boring and annoying, and I wish the movie was without her, not with another actress, because that's not the problem, not even with another design, because that's not the problem either, just that she wasn't in it, or if she was, that she was written as a more sympathetic character and not this kind of spoiled brat. I really didn't like that, and I know people are going to get angry at that because they'll say, but she's not spoiled, she's poor, she's stealing because she's poor. And yes, I know that's what they say is going on, but even though that's what they tell you is going on, she acts as if she's spoiled, and she's just really, really annoying. Number 2 is Bane's death. Up to this point of the movie, I thought it was a mediocre movie. I was disappointed already. I thought that they had dropped the ball, and I was sad because I had been really looking forward to it. I had bought preview tickets for the movie, so I went there with my girlfriend and my friends. I had my Batman t-shirt on, looking like a geek. I mean, I was really eager to watch the movie, and I was disappointed. But up to this point, it was a mediocre movie. It was like 6.5 out of 10. I thought that it was okay. This is when the movie went bad. I mean, like barely passes thanks to this stupid choice and the choice that takes the number 1 spot. Bane's death is atrocious. I mean, Bane has been the main villain throughout the whole movie. Then we discover that there's another villain. That's a pretty weak reveal as well. The fact that there's Talia Ghul. I mean, they really tried to put too much stuff in this movie, and it shows. But so Bane, we discover that he's not the main villain, and that's already kind of a problem. And he loses the fight with Batman, and that's fine because we've been waiting for it. We've been waiting for Batman to defeat him. And it is pretty satisfying because he punches him, he kicks him, and he wins with strength and wit. He breaks Bane's tubes, and I mean, it's a cool fight. It's pretty cool. And so you're happy that he's been defeated. And then Talia Ghul comes and stabs Batman, and Batman again is on the ground, and he's getting his ass kicked, and Bane is shot by Catwoman. In a second, like this, dead. We don't see him anymore. It's like shot, pop, never see him again. And Anne Hathaway says a joke like, yeah, your rule about not killing anyone, I don't really like that one. It's a horrible line. I mean, it's not exactly, I didn't phrase it right, but that's the sense, and it's stupid, and it's a really weak way to get over the problem that Batman cannot kill people. And it's a terrible scene, and it's totally disrespectful to the character. I mean, when I saw that, I was hoping that later on Bane would come back for a second ending, that he wasn't dead, because they couldn't end it in such a silly way. But they did. They did. And so, the main thing of the movie, the main villain, the most interesting part of the movie, in my opinion, dies like that. And all the satisfaction that you had of Batman defeating him goes away, because if it was up to Batman, the city would be rubble. Batman sucks in this movie. He never does anything right, almost anything. except a couple of things I'll mention in the best part. But I mean, it's not a good Batman. This is not a good Batman. And Bane's death was another way that this movie had to take coolness and sympathy away from Batman. You know, I mean, the only reason why you keep liking Batman in this movie is because of the previous two. If you were to judge him just by this movie, you wouldn't like him. I don't think you would. And Bane's death really undermines the feeling that you should have of admiration and respect for Batman. I'm not saying Batman has to win all the time, but he should never surrender, and he should always keep fighting. And here, he really doesn't. So that's a real problem of the movie, and it's a horrible way of ending the character, of ending Bane. It's absolutely horrible death. Number one problem with this movie is the end, the ending. Not the very final scene, but the idea that Bruce Wayne is alive because there was an autopilot on the bat, on his flying vehicle. This is just a horrible reveal. I mean, I think that conceptually it's a stupid reveal. I mean, it's kind of like, you know, like those movies that have in theaters before the movie, like in the 50s, kids would go watch a movie, and before there'd be episodes of some hero, and it's like he is trapped in the car. Will he be safe? In the next episode, you discover that he got away from the car just before the explosion. And I mean, it's a pretty disappointing way, because they show you the car exploding and then they tell you he got out, even though they showed you that he was in the car a second before the explosion and he didn't have the time. And here it's exactly the same thing, because you see Batman in the cockpit 10 seconds before a nuclear explosion. And I counted, it's 10 seconds. And we are supposed to believe that in those 10 seconds he gets out, jumps, all this, mind you, with a stab wound. So gets out of the plane, jumps, and flies away with his cape, and gets away from the explosion. I mean, the explosion is big. It creates a wave. We see it. It's a huge explosion. It's a nuclear explosion. And we're supposed to believe that he just got away fine. We don't know if he flew, he swam, but he was fine in 10 seconds. And it doesn't add up. I mean, people say, well, he's Batman, but, I mean, that's just stupid. I mean, that's not the answer. Batman is kind of superhuman in a way, but you have to explain how he's superhuman. You cannot say he did it. That's that. That's a very stupid response. And so, I mean, it's a terrible ending. And somebody actually told me that I'm stupid because it's non-linear editing. So the idea is that the shot they show of Batman in the cockpit was from another moment, like from 2 minutes before or something like that. Even if that was the case, I don't think 2 minutes would be enough to get away from a nuclear explosion. But even if it was, why would the editing do that? I mean, the person who told me this said that it's like in Memento. I mean, don't you know Christopher Nolan? He always does that. But Memento is a different movie. The whole movie has that kind of editing. It's the style of the movie, and I love it. It's a great style. But in The Dark Knight Rises, everything is linear. Everything goes naturally. It's a normal movie. It has, you know, I mean, the editing is normal. There's no moments like that. So what? To save Batman, they do that just once? I think that if that really is the case, you know, if Nolan was to say that that was the idea, I'd be angry, because it's cheating. It's grand scale cheating. And I have nothing against Christopher Nolan. I didn't like the movie. I still like him and everybody involved in the movie, including David S. Goya. But I just thought this was a terrible way to save Batman. I'm not one of those people who says he had to die necessarily. I mean, I do think that the real Batman doesn't give up on his mission, but the ending where he's alive and Alfred sees him did touched me. I mean, I thought that was a nice moment. I liked that moment. And this is Nolan's take on the character, so he can do what he wants with the moral if he thinks it works. I mean, I may not like it, but it's his right to do so. But this is just a logical problem. It's not a matter of taste. It just doesn't add up. And I thought that was the worst thing about the movie, that Batman survives in the most impossible, impractical, and sort of, it's just a logic fallacy. It's terrible. I really hate how Batman survives in this movie. I mean, they could have done it differently. They could have just not shown him in the cockpit, you know. You see the plane going away, the bat fly away, and we don't know when he got off. I'd be happier with that. The autopilot thing would still be lame, but at least it would make sense. So these are the 5 things that I thought were worst about the movie. Now, the 5 things which I thought were good about the movie, the best things about the movie. I thought I'd end on these because I'd end on a positive note instead of a negative one, because I really want to give credit where credit is due. And I think there are good things in this movie. They don't save the movie. I mean, they don't make the movie great, but they save it from being bad, like really bad. So, number 5 is music. Now, Hans Zimmer is a great composer. He's made tons of great soundtracks. I love the soundtrack of the previous Batman movies, the Nolan Batman movies. And this soundtrack is pretty good. I especially like of course, the chanting, you know, the chanting you hear in the prison and that you hear throughout the movie when Bane is around, that sort of pam pam pa pam pam pa pam. I like that. I think that's pretty cool. I like the chanting. So the music is nice and it's worthy of the characters. So that's point number 5. I like that. Number 4 is the scene where Alfred leaves Bruce. Now, it is out of character. Alfred never left Batman in the comic books. I mean, maybe it happened here and there, but if it did, people don't remember it because that's not who they feel Alfred should be. Alfred stays no matter what. This said, it's probably the best acted scene of the whole movie because both Michael Caine and Christian Bale do great, and it's really touching, and you get sad watching them drift apart, watching them having this fight and Bruce telling Alfred to go away. It's a very nice scene, and I thought it was one of the highlights of the movie, and probably one of the best acted scenes of the whole trilogy. Of course, I mean, there's Heath Ledger who did most of the best acting in the trilogy, but this is one of the best scenes anyway, where acting is concerned. Number 3 is Bruce's escape from the Lazarus Pit, the prison that Bane threw him in. Now, in the comic books, the Lazarus Pit is something else, but here it's a prison, and I don't mind that reimagining. Now, the scene where he escapes is very nice. It's inspiring. The music is nice, and I like the moral that to do amazing things, you have to learn to accept the fear of death instead of denying it like Batman has done before. I think that's an interesting moral, and I like the scene where Bruce jumps and manages to reach that rock that he could never manage before when he had a rope tied to his waist. I like that he manages to do it only when the possible outcome of not doing it is death. And I thought that was a really good scene. So yeah, this is one of the highlights of the movie. Number 2 is the first fight between Bane and Batman. This is one of the best moments of the movie. Up to this point of the movie, it had been okay, but not great. When this scene happened, my hopes got high again. Like most Batman fans, I'd been wondering if they'd have the back-breaking scene from Nightfall. And they did. And it's really nice. not nice, but it's really cool. It's a very cool scene. And the fight is nice, and it's nice how Batman becomes more and more desperate because he's not managing to win. Bane is stronger than he is. And I thought that was nice. I like to see I like to see Batman fail if it means that then he'll get up again and fight once more. And I thought this was a great scene for that. I mean, you know, it creates expectation. You think to yourself, oh, I can't wait for Batman to kick Bane's ass at the end, which he doesn't, as I said, but you think he will. And, I mean, he does defeat Bane, but then, as I said, it's all ruined by Bane's death. But this first fight scene is really nice. I like the setting, I like how dark it is, I like the lines, and the dialogues. I thought it was really, really cool, and it's the second best thing about the movie. So that's number 2. Number 1 is, very predictably, Bane. Both the performance by Tom Hardy, who I love, he's great, and the design. I really like the design of Bane in this movie. I read that his clothes are a combination of political activists and terrorists and dictators from both the left wing and the right wing. So it's like a combination of all the most violent political extremists in history, and I thought that's a cool idea. The mask is really cool, maybe even better than the comic book. People will kill me for saying this, but maybe even better than the original mask. And it's the best thing about the movie. I mean, he gets a terrible death and some cheesy lines, and he could have been used better in the movie. But the design is great, the acting is great, the voice is really cool, and he's been called kind of a bulked up Sean Connery, and I can see where that comes from, but I think it's a bit better than that. And Bane is the best thing about this movie. I mean, it's one of the things we were looking forward to, and in that sense, this movie did not disappoint. So these were the top 5 worst and top 5 best things about The Dark Knight Rises. As I said, I do not like this movie overall, but I do think that some things were good and it should be recognized. I just think that it's not on par with the other 2 movies. I mean, the trilogy goes down with this one. But I still think that we should give credit where credit is due, and I hope I did. So that's my review of the movie, and I hope you enjoyed it.